Hi everyone, my name is Alberto. I'm from Spain, as you can already tell by my accent. I'm living in Japan, in Tokyo, and I'm studying Japanese. And I'm also working part-time as an English teacher in a girls' high school. This is so interesting. I'm gonna explain to you how I got this gig, and I hope you find it interesting. Okay, so how did this came to happen? My school organized an activity to practice Japanese with natives, and these natives were Japanese high school girls. It was very interesting. I said, yeah, let's do it. We were supposed to practice and talk in both English and Japanese. But in the end, it was not like that. Why? Because their English level was much lower than expected. They almost were like, hello, how are you? Thank you. Not much more. So anyway, there we went. We had we met them. They were very extroverted. This was also something that really shocked me because usually Japanese people, are introverted and they, the boundaries are very important, this and that, They were not like that at all. They were not the typical anime, quiet anime girl that is like, oh, no. They were like, boom, all over the place, most of them. Of course, not everyone was like that, but that was very, very surprising. So yeah, we had the activity. I'm a very extroverted person, as you may have already noticed. In my school, we are like more than 300 students, almost 400, and I'm the most extroverted out of everyone. I like talking here, there, blah, 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 I like people. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. I exchanged my Instagram because I told them that I also, do YouTube videos and this and that, and I exchanged my Instagram with them. Anyway, next day I was in my Japanese language school, and during the break of the, between classes, I was walking relaxed, eating my sandwich, and the principal's right hand came at me and said, Alberto, I want to talk to you about the Japanese high school. And by the tone of her voice, I thought, oh, this is not something good. She's gonna complain maybe that I exchanged the Instagram with these high school students because I didn't do anything wrong, They have Instagram, I do also as well, So we follow each other. It was just something very healthy, Anyway, she said, Alberto, about this Japanese high school. They really liked your personality and they would like you to teach some classes, some English classes. And I said, yeah, whoa, let's do it. That sounds very interesting. So that's how I got the job. And there I went. First class, how was it? Horrible. All my expectations were out the window. I already knew this was a little different. As I've told you, it's not the typical high school. So it was very shocking for me because the first class I just had 3 students. What the hell? Why just 3? Then I noticed, okay, they are not very strict with the attendance. Otherwise, I would not just have 3. So I was talking with them, and then all of a sudden, one girl just picked up the phone and started looking at it. And I said, can you please put down your phone? And she said, no, this is important. If the teacher tells you something, that's where I come from. If the teacher tells you to lay down your phone, you lay down your phone. Anyway, this, it was a little bit of a tense situation. So in the end, she just said, oh, I'm going to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? I said, yeah, okay, go to the bathroom and talk with whoever you have to talk. But I didn't like it very much at first. Also, it was not made very clear to me how strict could I be. I mean, until what point I could, sort of punish them or just kick them out of the class. And it was just 3. Next class, right after this one, were the first year girls, 15 and 16 years old. And there was around 10 of them. Whoa, talking about a challenge. That was interesting. They didn't want to pay attention, they were tired, some of them were putting makeup, some others were doing TikTok videos, some others were just, sleeping. And I said, what's going on here? This is a mess. So I said, okay, everyone, follow me. We're going out of the class and we're gonna talk to foreigners directly. That's what we're going to do. And everyone was shocked. And I said, no problem. We're gonna go out and go directly and ask foreigners, excuse me, can you, have some practice with these girls because they are my students, this and that. So they had a lot of fun. The first class, it was a bit shocking, as I've told you, but then step by step, I got to know them. I could not be a regular teacher. I had to perform a little bit as well. Because if I was a regular teacher, they would not pay absolutely any attention. And you know, they are high school girls. I'm very used to teaching. In Spain, I was teaching martial arts for many years. I was in tense environments. I taught complicated people, people that was competing, that had a very, very high ego, people that was in the youth's jail, you know. It's not like the jail, but it's the jail for people under 18 years. So I taught people that was attending, that not attending, that you know, got out of that place. I got through very complicated situations in Spain. And everything went fine. In the end, everyone loved me and it was so much fun. But these girls, you know, they were a challenge. So I was performing, I was teaching them English, we were going out, we were talking with foreigners, I was teaching them basic but interesting stuff, and doing many games as well. This was very important. Still is very important because I'm still teaching there. This was supposed to be just 3 months, but after that time, they asked me to continue, and I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do another 3 months. And they also invited me to the new Gakushiki. In Japanese is the opening ceremony for the students, because new students were coming. And then in this new term, instead of 10 students, I had 25. So that was also a challenge. The class was bigger. We moved from that mall to another place, more high school-like. Still not a high school, because this is not like a regular high school, as I've told you. But yeah, it was interesting. First class, everyone was surprised. We had fun. Of course, I didn't know the names of the new students back then, but I memorized them all because I like, you know, I think that's important to, you know, to build that teacher-student relationship. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, as I've told you. I teach them English while playing games, and you know, I want them to have fun and to be engaged in the class. Of course, their English level is very, very low, most of them. There are a couple of them, they are pretty good, but most of them, their English level is just like horrible. You cannot have a conversation. They just know very, very basic words, and you know, so I have to speak Japanese many times because otherwise they would not understand what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm mixing these games with Japanese explanations and, you know, making the class fun. Sometimes I have to be a little strict, kibishi, like they say in Japanese, because otherwise they don't listen. So I have to go like, hey, listen to this, shut up, you know. So I'm a little aggressive sometimes, not in a bad way, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that's one of the adventures that I'm living here, and I hope that you have fun with this video. I'm also practicing my English doing these videos, and that I like very much. You know, talking for a long time is a good practice. And yeah, I like learning and I like teaching. They are pretty fun, and each one of them has a different personality, of course, but yeah, I like most of them. After class, many times they help me with my Japanese homework. Sometimes sometimes they got the homework wrong, which was very interesting, but you know, of course they know many kanji, you know. After class, I like also talking with them. I try to support them as much as possible, give them advice, teach them English in a funny way. And yeah, that's it. I hope that you liked this video, and that's it. See you soon.